Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenny Schuler from the Department of Family and Support Services. This is the Human Services Delivery Division, Public Benefits Outreach and Enrollment, CDGA RFP webinar. Before we start, please let me know if we can all hear what's going on. Please apply yes in the message bar or the dialog bar. Okay, it appears that everybody can hear what's going on. So let's get to the agenda. So briefly, it's about DFSS and our strategic framework, why these current RFPs look different than previous ones, overview of high-level changes, the division RFP changes, and the human services delivery programs. Okay, you'll note that this is the way our department is divided up in our programs, 8 different program divisions. But the human services delivery division, it really impacts all those other divisions simply because they're all made up of people, you know, and this is the public benefits, and it impacts children, youth, domestic violence, veterans, workforce, homeless, and seniors can also or be in need in public benefits. To refresh our mission that we've updated and made it more focused. So our mission is to work with community partners. We connect Chicago residents and families to resources that build stability, support their well-being, and empower them to thrive. Our priorities are to deliver comprehensive services, collaborate with community partners, sister agencies, and public officials on programs and policies that improve Chicagoans' lives and advance systemic change. Inform the public of resources available to them through DFSS and our community partners, and of course, be good steward of our resources and allocate them responsibly and effectively. This whole thing about the strategic framework, now we've been reviewing this over the past couple of years, and I'm sure that you received emails and were invited into meetings about this strategic framework. So this is basically about everyone speaking the same language and looking at our outcomes in the same way. We might be, so we know what one another's talking about. We might have called it something different before. You might have been calling it something different before. But this is our strategic framework that we're looking to results-focused RFPs and contracts. So especially through July 2016 through November 2017, we were setting and operationalizing priorities and outcome goals internally. Then through November 2017 through this year, we're engaging our delegates to improve services and outcomes in line with those goals in phase 1. And we're doing this conducting more robust planning for RFPs, develop RFPs and contracts focused on outcome goals, and finally, active managed contracts to drive continuous improvements. And for many of you, you're ready at your A game. You're already at that stage. But A games can get a little stale at times, and you know, the population is always changing. funding changes, regulations change. So we're always readjusting our programs into that new environment with the circumstances and environments that our clients or our residents are living in. So we've made changes to our RFPs, selection criteria, and application questions for this CDGA cycle. Now this is a new system too. Before we were on cyber grants, now it's this eProcurement system. So it's changed, so that will look a little different. But we want these RFPs and contracts to ensure outcomes, to be the center of our work. As for those delegates that have submitted applications previously for this RFP, this has always been what you have done. Develop a shared understanding of priorities for and how we will track improvement, and support two-way communication between DFSS and delegates about best practices, high-quality services, and the needs of those we serve. And this, we've adjusted the structure and content of our RFPs and application questions to shift focus from activities to goals, align priorities with selection criteria and application questions, and pose questions that provide the most relevant information for decision making. Throughout the RFP, you'll read questions, well, in the program description. When you read it thoroughly, you'll see or you'll read words that continuously reinforce this collaboration idea, where they're asking, this is through the questions too, we're asking questions. We want your opinion. How can we be better to serve you? What do you know to be the best? Are we looking at the right things? Should we be looking at different things? So it's this constant kind of back and forth. And at times it will be exhausting. It's like, have you got it yet? You know, it's like this RFP process has been exhausting for everybody because we've been going through this. And like, are we posing this the correct way? Do we have the program description correctly? Are we asking the correct questions? So even so, we know we have some things wrong, so you'll have to respond to that and say, well, I would look at it this differently. So it's really a give and take. Not only do you have to, you know, respond to the RFP, but also you're sort of doing an evaluation as you go along in answering the questions. The RFPs articulate what we want to achieve together for Chicagoans rather than focusing on activities alone. This is not to say, yes, we are looking at activities, but we're asking for the outcomes. So we're telling you the outcomes. For example, you have children and they have to go to bed, they have to brush their teeth, they have to eat balanced meals, and this is like, these are all activities. But we're looking at the outcomes. Finally, you have to say to a kid, I'm making you brush your teeth so in 20 years your teeth don't fall out. This is the outcome. I want you to have strong, healthy teeth. You're sleeping because I want you healthy so you get well rested, for the outcome of being able to do something else. So you're doing this, the activity, for the outcome, a better environment. Target population, who we want to achieve it for. So, especially for the public benefits, I mean, you have a range of audiences particular, but it's basically eligible clients, and it's based on income and how they fit into the program. For example, our SNAP program, or WIC, or TANF. So they all have different criteria, but that's part of our population. Where we are today and priorities for future of the program, and this is where the challenges to success to build upon, especially with public benefits. You're impacted a great deal upon federal and state programs, the funding for these programs, if they exist, if they're putting more money into them or less money. With SNAP, you know, there's a lot of questions as to, will the SNAP program really be hit hard this year? We know that it was slightly, a few dollars were taken off this year for singles with SNAP benefits, and now at this time we don't know what the effects of the SNAP program will bring. So those are things that, in reading and doing your response, these are things that you may consider while writing, that this is the environment our population works within. The program requirements, these are the most important program activities agencies should undertake. And for this, it's the eligibility, it's the screening and enrollment of benefits. And also you do have the outcome. Not outcomes, what do I want to say? Oh, the outreach activities in the title. And then performance measures. How we'll measure success and progress against outcome goals and work together to improve. So what we set for outcome measures as the year goes through, as funding changes, as program eligibility might change, we can change these performance measures. But that's what we're always going to be looking at. Are we looking at the right things to measure? Especially for the new selection criteria. For this program, this program has been around since ERA. So pretty much we're looking at the same types of criteria, and really it's change environment, and these things, what we're looking at, are basics from before, but we're just restating them and sort of reinforcing them to you, that we're looking at these things, but within a new mission, and we're just shaking our head and say, let's look at this again. But there, with the strength of the proposed program, the program performance, outcome, and quality, the organizational capacity, and the reasonable cost, budget justification, and leverage of funds. Please pay attention to the applicants that we had previously, the number of applications, and how many projects were funded, and how much funding was available for this program. Because that will pretty much set your parameters for doing your budget on this. So don't forget to look at that. The new application questions aim to solicit strong responses to help DFSS make more informed decisions. The more informed you are and decide to inform us, the more we can make better informed decisions. So on a lot of things, we have one perspective, we have a certain amount of information, you have a different perspective, and you're also working with the client base itself. So we've developed more specific questions tailored to a human services context. We've added questions to reflect our focus on evidence, best practices, and using data to improve. And we've had a larger number of questions in the application, but they're more focused, so you don't have to put off superfluous kind of things in there. You can focus more on the exact question. What things I'd like to, one of the example questions, what are the challenges and critical needs facing your intended client population, particularly for public benefits with other programs too, but what will impact public benefits right off the bat is the immigration, the citizen status of applicants. We do have a lot of children of immigrants, and current policy is currently funding food stamps for children of immigrants born in U.S. citizens. However, some recent legislation is sort of questioning if those children will be receiving SNAP benefits or immigrants that file for earned income tax credit will be receiving that. So a lot has to do with your client population and what is going on the federal and state level in terms of legislation, which will impact your the number of people you serve. So if you have more of an understanding of that, these are things that you put in your application. Okay, program description. The goal of the Public Benefit Outreach and Enrollment Program is to increase the resources available to low-income households by accessing federal, state, and/or local government-issued public benefits or programs. We seek to increase the number and percentage of households that are screened through the program and obtain one or more benefits. Program activities to be conducted by delegate agencies include outreach, education, screening, application assistance, and follow-up support. It's important to know, too, and to think about that we have 8 divisions in the department, and they have different programs. It may not be that you have financial support, but, for example, we have One Summer Chicago, that applications are due at the end of May for kids from 14, young people from 14 to 24. That's a benefit. And not that you would enroll them, but we would hope that the public benefits person would at least have, for example, for this, have their poster displayed in the area. So it just is close to the person being evaluated for benefits to see that this is a benefit outside of what you're screening them for. Usually you're screening for WIC or SNAP or TANF. Okay, you have to agree to the following requirements. You have to provide the services, particularly the screening and enrollment, at all 6 community service centers during center hours of operation. that means 9 to 5. Now, if there is a certain pot of money available for this project, as I said before, please look at to see what is stated in the RFP. And if you need to, yes, the centers are open from 9 to 5. If you want to do, and we expect them to be staffed, but if you need to readjust that, maybe you have to do some outreach, or you just don't have the staff with salaries to cover a certain amount of hours, we can always adjust those hours, but we do expect them to be staffed. You have to enter into STARS, which is the state data system, and also HMIS, or if we have any other funders required system, you would have to enter your data. You have to maintain a client database to track each benefit application, the approval date, the monetary value, reasons for denial, and associated follow-up. A lot of you have been doing do the recertification for SNAP, for example. Document follow-up, retention, and redetermination services, and document target outreach activities. So if you're going to some delegate agency, they have some type of seminar going on, or you're going to be there giving a presentation, you document those types of things. The indicators, the performance measures or indicators for the contract are the percentage and number of eligible clients' households that receive one benefit, percentage and number of eligible clients' households that receive one or more benefits, the number of clients' households assessed, the dollar value of benefits received by benefit, and the number of outreach activities. And these are the things that this is what you're looking at, because you assume by doing these activities, lead to an outcome. You assume that, okay, if you have SNAP benefits, food benefits, your outcome is that you're receiving a certain amount of healthy meals per month. So we look at the activities, and we're always looking for, should we be looking at something else? Should we be stating it a different way? Now, these are the things that we have been accustomed to. Now, I know our vendor, now they have posed different things, and they actually report on it because they think that it's important. And when you do those kind of things, when you put something in a program and it remains consistent, you've actually raised the caliber of that program. So it's now you've created a new base. So the RFP is available on our website, cityofchicago.org. See pages 74 to 78. Read it thoroughly. Read it a couple of times because there's a lot of information in there. It's the same program it's always been, only it's stated a little differently. And as you read through, you get the idea of collaboration, sharing opinions, sharing experience, sharing thoughts. So, but you have to read it to get that feeling. Also, the applications are due May 31 at 12 noon. Okay, our same homepage, you can go to see alerts for any type of assistance. The first thing that you have to do is register. So for questions on registration, you go to this eProcurement support. Now, when you go to our website and you hit on alerts, all of these links are live links. So you can just press on it and get right to where you want. If you need some help with the application, for some technical assistance, there's the OBM link there, or also the hotline at 312-744-0358. There's also training materials, documents, and videos that you can actually watch. How do I do this? So that's also on our home page. Application tips: start early, right away, register. That's at iSupply or eProcurement. That's at the registration questions. Read the RFP scope a couple of times. Make sure you catch all the nuances. You'll notice that the scope, the evaluation criteria relates to the questions. That's why we asked the questions the way we did. Carefully review the evaluation criteria. Now, the evaluation criteria is like pretty standard, and if some people in the organization answer some things better or have more knowledge in one area, let them do the question. Have somebody independent actually proofread for content and that it makes sense. You know, just because you're writing something, you might really know the subject, but you might not be the best writer, or you just get too consumed in the subject that you forget things. So have somebody else just to make sure it reads well and you haven't forgotten anything. Lastly, use spell check. You can also use grammar check, because grammar check will pick up when you missed a word. So your mind doesn't work the same way. The first doesn't apply. There's it should say on the system too, there's a 4,000 character limit on responses. It includes punctuation and spaces, so don't be long-winded. And who would want to? But when it asks for experience, highlight your experience rather than putting blow-by-blows. I mean, you can start like, you know that this program has been in existence for, 10 years. You can submit your application and later amend it until the due date, May 31 at 12 p.m. noon. Before there was the system, you could save drafts. Well, this one, you could just submit it. The applications will not be touched to review until after May 31 at noon. So we're not going to be touching them till in June. So you can always submit rather than save an application. Well, you can do that. Save an application, but you can submit it. We're anticipating that there's something will happen when all these applications are submitted around the same time, because there's a lot of different departments. This is a citywide department kind of application process. This is a new system, and so we're anticipating that we might have a problem, everything coming in at the same time, because late applications will not be accepted. And if we had to accept late applications, that would mean that we would have to reissue the whole RFP again. So we're trying to ask different agencies to get into this, submit now. Save one copy, submit another, so we don't have any problems, because late applications will not be accepted. And if you have any problems, again, the eProcurement, which is OBM's hotline, 312-744-0358. Okay, you'll notice addendums and notifications. When the RFP first went out, one of the forms was not included for the scope. So we had to issue an addendum. So when you do your application, you'll see that you have to acknowledge the addendum, and you have to acknowledge it, and then you'll be able to accept the addendum, which is a form for the scope. So don't be surprised that you see it that way. It will also, the specification or solicitation number you will have on it, it will be amended with a 1. So this is Amendment 1, and that you'll need for the submitting. But that will be obvious once you get in the system. So if you have any questions, please type them in the dialog box. And as you're doing the application, or if you have any questions otherwise, you can always contact me, Jenny Schuler, at 312-746-7291, or Julia Talbot, who's in our policy division. Her number is 312-743-1679, and there's also that OBM hotline. So checking into the dialogue box, doesn't appear that we have any questions. So thank you for joining me today. Have a nice weekend. We have spring for at least today, so have a nice weekend. Thank you.